Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Time for that 2022 shop tour, and there are quite a few changes this year, so I'm trying to dive a little deeper. But for me, it all starts right here at this table. When I film, I'm shooting from this side, but when I work, I'm working from that side. And you see all the drawers there? This is really the heartbeat for me and where all my work is, and I count steps from here. So the things I use the most, like my clamps and the things in that drawer, etc., they are all the fewest steps away from this position right here. So switch camera around, I'll give you a little closer up view. So in the top drawer up here is kind of all my layout tools and things. I keep a little block plane in here, I keep spare batteries in here. Another tape measure, box knife, multiple squares, which I use on every project, pair of scissors, a moisture meter. Like I said, this is just stuff that I reach for a lot, so it lives right here in this top drawer. The second drawer is all fasteners that I use regularly. These are all things that tend to show up in a lot of projects, so they live right here. Again, I don't have to travel real far. The rest of these drawers are still a work in progress. So currently I have a Festool drill in this one, and I don't know that this is going to live here or not because I don't use this drill very often. So by my own standard, this could live further away, but I'm not committed in this drawer either. So the next drawer is where I keep, my nail gun, a few little router parts, things of that nature. And I do get in this drawer quite a bit, so I think that this one is ready to get its final organization and things dialed in exactly the way they should be. In the bottom drawer is kind of some layout tools and things like that. Table saw guide, calipers. I do keep a small pocket hole jig in here, although I don't use it very often. Little setup square. I'm not in this drawer very often, and again, I'm not necessarily committed to what I have going on in this drawer either. Around the back side of this table is where I keep my small air compressor. It gets used with the nailers and all of that. And it's a little California Air Tools. It's super quiet. I really like it. But you also notice too that this is on wheels. So they're casters that are currently set down on the floor, so this table's not going anywhere. But I can quickly stand it up, and if I need more floor space, I can get it out of the way. Like I said, this is really the workhorse in the shop. It's a torsion box top, which is way overkill, but it is dead flat and the top is replaceable. I did a video on that at the end of last year there on how I replaced that top. So we're going to move over to this big wall here and just work clockwise around the shop. So I figured this corner was a good place to start. This door goes into my wife's quilting room, and it actually will start with one of the more recent additions to the shop, which is this 14BX from Laguna. It's a wonderful saw. I'm super happy with it. Additionally, I keep a whiteboard over here, which is, again, very close to my primary work location. So as I need to jot notes down and remember things during a project, it's real easy to come over here. Moving down the wall, this was the router bit cabinet that I built a few years ago. And it's now home for all of my 1/4 inch router bits. And again, all those trim routers kind of live up here, right close to where my primary work location is. And obviously the clamp wall, that hasn't changed too much. The only thing I added to that this year was these Woodpecker's corner clamps, and I have used them on a few projects, and I really like those. So moving further down this wall is the Jessam router table. This has the big Porter cable in it, which I absolutely love. But my favorite thing about this router table is rather than having to adjust my height from the top with a tool, it's all toolless from here on the side. One of my projects, possibly this year, is actually to enclose this to improve dust collection. Even though it has dual dust ports to it, it does not do a very good job. And of course, this is the tool cabinet we built earlier this year for the 1/2-inch drill bits, and I can see it's filling up already. I may have to go back and actually use that top block up there, but I can. Also, my short tracks live right here for the track saw, and I have the connectors to connect these, but I also have an 8-foot rail, so I don't use those connectors very often. The Incremiter 1000 is dedicated to this router table, so all of its stuff lives right here. The tool to make adjustments all lives right in there, and push blocks and whatnot, they all live inside that cabinet. This has not changed. This is a pull-down tray, so if I'm out here working through a project, I actually have a laptop stored in here, and I can make SketchUp changes on the fly and see real dimensions and whatnot, and I use this quite frequently. So this corner is what I've actually referred to as my hand tool corner. It's got a split top Rubo in it, and this comes out or stands up for planing stop. It's got all bench crafted hardware. It does have a little different base on it, but that beefier base allows me to put another set of casters on this and roll it someplace if I need to. A lot of times if I have a larger project on my assembly table, I can roll this over and have another work surface. Super, super handy. A lot of Narix chisels, my various saws. Again, all hand tool stuff, and all the hand planes live inside the cabinet. Just more to keep dust off them, dust and rust, if you will. But I really like this corner. Comes in really handy. Of course, the TV's up on the wall. I have dedicated internet service in here, so if I'm watching anything there, it's streamed. And then the last thing that you can see, I think in the picture there, my roll around cart, and that gets used almost on every project. Just so handy to move parts from tool to tool as I move. I just load them all on there, and of course, a bunch of woodpecker stuff kind of up on the wall there. Moving down this wall, I have my Supermax 1938 drum sander here with the custom base underneath it. This custom base is one of the best things I ever built in the shop because I get so much drawer space out of a stand that was pretty much useless, the one that came with it. There is some organization to all of this, so some overflow fasteners and things like that all live in here. The center drawer is not organized at all. I have a sandpaper drawer for various sheet sandpaper and stuff like that. But again, I haven't completely figured out what all lives here. It's always a work in progress, but we're going to get there. Now kind of moving down into this section, I have a lathe corner here, which I'll give you a closer view of, but we're getting more into the milling tools and whatnot for the shop. This is my Powermatic 15-inch planer with the helical head in it. It's a good planer. It's been really good. We did a video this year on a change in the dust collection because I moved this machine over a little bit, and that was to make more room for the joiner and my outfeed table, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. So the lathe corner is actually on my list to upgrade this year. This little Grizzly lathe I've had for a lot of years, and it's been a really good lathe. It's done everything I've asked of it, but I want to get more into turning in 2022. I don't know if any of those projects will hit video because I'm not very good at it, but we're going to replace this lathe this year. This cabinet I built with that future in mind, and all the lathe tools live right here in this pull-out drawer, so it's an easy reach for everything that's here. The cupboard in the middle is pretty much general storage, and until the new lathe is in and all those bits and pieces that go with the lathe, those drawers are really very unorganized. There's Tormek parts in there, which I use for changing bevel angles and things of that nature. I have a slow speed Rikon on here with CBN wheels, and I do use that to sharpen the tools quite often. And this This is a recent addition. Unfortunately, my dad passed away last year, and that grinder came from his shop. I think long term I'm going to put a set of buffing wheels on that. I just haven't gotten around to that yet. This corner just does not get used very much for me, but I'm hoping to change all that in 2022. Moving down this wall, this is my dust collector with a closet door that still hasn't been done. That's again on the list for this year, as it has been the last probably 2 years. But it's a Clearview CV1800. It's got an oversized impeller, it's 5 horsepower motor, running on a 7-inch main and all Nordfab ducting in the shop. And unfortunately, this little cubby back here ends up catching just about everything in the shop that doesn't have a home. So over here, kind of in front of the dust collector, I have vertical storage, and I really like this vertical storage. It makes it easy to see what I have and access it easily. And over here, kind of above that lathe corner station, I have horizontal storage, but it all works out really well. And then over back in here, you see my scrap bin, and that's for offcuts and things of that nature that I kind of want to hang on to. I often get asked, what do I do with those offcuts when that bin is getting unmanageable? And quite frankly, I turn them into small cutting boards, or I've reached out to a couple of turning groups here that are just anxious to come in here and clean out my scrap bin for their smaller projects. So it works out really well for them. And paying it forward is oftentimes really nice. If I need something special turned, I can reach out to those guys and they will do a turning for me. And since we're on this wall, we'll talk about the joiner real quick. This is the Hammer A341. It is a 16-inch joiner, and I do have the extension wings on it, so I can really put a long piece of material through here. And I recently moved it, well, I moved this and the planer this way just a little bit because I have what I call CT parking over here under that outfeed table for all of the various festool stuff that I use with that. But we'll get to that in a minute. Additionally, I also have overhead power here as well. I have 2 of these in the shop that I had put in, and I use them all the time. In fact, the camera that this is being recorded on is plugged into the overhead one on the other side of the room. So super nice. So moving over into this corner, is my 8-foot roll-up door, which of course I use to bring material into the shop. I have a driveway that comes right up to this door. And this is also where I store sheet goods, as well as here on this Rockler cart. I'm pretty sure I did a review on this cart. Love this cart, highly recommend this cart. But all of this is stuff coming in and going to milling. So getting around the corner from that big roll-up door, this is the latest addition to the shop, and this is the Laguna 18BX. And I bought it primarily for resaw and to break down rough stock, because it's not the safest thing to do in the table saw. And so far, it's been a dream to work with. And again, sheet storage stuff here, and again, things I don't reach for very often, long bar clamps. My Moxon vise, okay. And then I have a Lee D4R that lives behind here on this shelf. And again, I just don't use that very often. Some of the various sleds and stuff for the table saw, I have a pocket hole jig there, which if you follow me at all, you know I very rarely use. And of course, my air cleaner lives right up here above. And that's the Jet. It does an amazing job. I've been super happy with how that's cleaned up the air in here. Okay, so coming straight in from that roll-up door lives the table saw. This is the Powermatic 2000B, and if you followed me for any length of time, you know when this saw got here, I had nothing but issues with it. Currently, it's pretty dialed in. I've built lots of sleds and jigs for it, and I've created some under table saw storage as well, and I'll give you a closer up view of that. So in the top drawer lives my dado stack, my small dado stack, the wrench for the saw, and clamps for the zero clearance fence. And before anybody asks the question, yes, some of this stuff back here is a little bit cumbersome to get to, but that's because I've tucked the cabinet further back underneath the saw. I could pull it forward, so it doesn't really bother me. The next drawer down is just some feather boards and push blocks and still some room for growth in my Wixley angle gauge. And then some table saw blade storage, and all these trays lift in and out or slide whatever I need to do. This drawer is not very well organized yet because I haven't fully decided what lives in this drawer, but we'll get there. And then the bottom drawer is all of my zero clearance fences and things of that nature, as well as it's just a great place for my respirator. So moving up this wall just a little bit, just the other side of the 18-inch bandsaw is the start of my miter station. My refrigerator lives here. My hollow chisel mortiser lives here for now, and I'm contemplating several things with that. I've considered sinking it into here, and I've considered some carts for it. I'm just not sure yet, so it sits there until I make a decision. And again, all cabinets all the way down to the Festool Capex, which is a good saw, and it has a dedicated CT as well. And I've added 3 of these in the shop, which are just cleanup drops coming straight off of my big dust collector. There's one here, there's one back over by the lathe, and then there's one over by the drill press that you'll see in a minute. And I love having the drops here because I was able to just take the shop vac and get it out of the shop. So again, like everything else in the shop, the organization is kind of the key. So for instance, in this cupboard, I have a full pull-out for my Fuji spray system, and the hose lives below that. I have a dedicated CT vac here for the chop saw, and all the drawers are again organized. I don't know how well that shows up. They're just partitioned off in half laps with 1/4-inch material to give everything a proper home. And then this is where my scrap bin lives, right underneath the chop saw. Just makes it easy. I make my cut, I toss it away, and we move on. So coming down to this side of the miter station, again, is of course more drawer storage that's all organized. Not all of them are full and have things in them, again, because it's an ongoing process of figuring out what I want to live where. This also kind of starts where I keep a selection of hand tools, more mechanic type tools, not necessarily woodworking, but inevitably you need some of these things in the shop from time to time. I've also added clips to the cupboard doors up here that are the current project that I am working on. So the plans go right here. And again, that assembly table is literally right there. So everything is right here at hand. As far as the cupboards go, they're not overly organized. This is kind of what I call the, gee, I need a quick gift cabinet. So there's various knife blades and scoops and pizza cutters and things of that nature, where if I need to create a quick gift, I can reach for something and usually knock it out fairly quickly. As well as overflow items live up above. And the center cabinet is a whole bunch of these really clear bins, which I really like. These are kitchen bins. They're made to go in the refrigerator, and you pick them up at the big box stores, but I like them because I can actually see what's in the bins. And so like I have some Blum parts and some drawer handles and some hinges, et cetera, et cetera. And that's really what lives in here. A little bit more overflow stock as well. And in the last cupboard is all finishes. To be quite frank, I wish this was a metal cabinet. It's not, and I will eventually get all of these finishes out of this cabinet at some point and get them into a proper fireproof cabinet. And of course, all the Festool stuff lives down here. Again, it's close to my primary work locations. And the two drawers on the end, this one is dedicated and organized to the drill press, which we'll see in just a minute, and I'll give you a closer up picture of this drawer. And the top one is organized, but it's all jig parts, if you will. So, you know, things like handles and knobs, toggle clamps, things like that. That all lives in this drawer. So kind of over here in the last corner, my drill station lives here with the battery charger, some more various hand tools that inevitably you need in the shop from time to time, and my old Grizzly drill press, which is on a foot switch. I love it. It's been a great drill press. And again, one more of those drops that's hooked up to my main dust collector, and just makes cleanup a breeze over here. Additionally, over here, you see I'm running a mini split. I have one in this room and I have one in my wife's quilting room. The heat pump is outside, and it keeps this shop at a constant temperature all year round. We really set it and forget it. It's been wonderful to have a climate controlled shop. And the last item in the shop is my outfeed table. Now, my previous two shops, this was also my primary working location. So it has a lot of bells and whistles that most outfeed tables don't have. But I still do a lot of work here because I have things like this bench crafted leg vise. It has an H&T Gordon tail vise. It has dog holes for hold fasts. It has the T-track in the front if I need it. I don't use that very often. It is a split top design, so I can use that as a planing stop or a tool track, or oftentimes what happens is I end up taking it all the way out and it becomes a track for the track saw blade while fully supporting the material. When I was using this as a primary work location, a lot of those things you saw in the drawers in that assembly table lived in these drawers. Now these drawers are pretty much empty, but they're not that far from my assembly table. So again, it's a lot of room for growth back into this table. Additionally, my spindle sander lives off this side. This is on a KitchenAid lift, and it works pretty slick. Additionally, because I have the CT parking just there on the other side, the hose hooks directly up to this, so I have dust collection at this machine when I'm using it. And of course, when I don't need it, it just stores under this table. Well, there you go, guys. That's the full 2022 shop tour. I know inevitably there's something I missed, and you eagle eyes will find something in the background that I didn't talk about and have a question. And by all means, fire away. All my contact info is in the show notes. I do respond to the comments here as well. But I hope you got something out of it, and I hope you guys have a wonderful year. Until the next time, take care.